with Bishop Dale C. Bronner.
So focus on conduct, on conversation in terms of its dialogue, where there is a flow of meaning, and then in character, your character, the things that build character. And notice it mentions how wives submit yourselves to your own husbands. Notice it's about submission. Submission is an attitude and spirit. You submit in your attitude and spirit. Obedience is always an action. So a person can be obedient to you but totally unsubmitted. So obedience and submission are not the same. Submission is an attitude and spirit. Obedience is an action. A good case in point. You can be on the job. A boss tells you to get all of these boxes, move these over here, get them ready for delivery. And you move them. You can be obedient and say, okay, I'll do it because they told me to do it. I don't want to lose my job. And we're obedient because we don't want to lose our job. But the whole time that we're moving the boxes, we're grumbling. Shoot, they don't pay me enough. I don't know how they're going to ask me to be doing this. And shoot, they didn't ask nobody else. They going, why don't they ask me if I want to raise? They'll be doing it. And so here the person now is, they're obedient in that they are carrying out the action, but in their hearts, they are not submitted in spirit, and their attitude is not good. Submission is always in attitude and spirit. And notice it says, wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands. It didn't say to merely be obedient to them, because a person can be obedient and just still biting their lip and cussing you out at the same time. So it's about the submission of heart. And of course, men are to be submitted in their hearts as well. Men are to be submitted. A man, if he's doing something, well, I go out and I did this, I brought you the money, didn't I? And then he's grumbling, he's obedient, but his heart is not submitted. See, that's a two-way street. That's a two-way street. And so we have to always make sure that we are keeping ourselves there. And notice here in verse 9, something very, very key. Not returning evil for evil or reviling for reviling, but on the contrary, notice, blessing. Now here's another way of just saying this: bless them that curse you. Bless them that curse you. Bless them. Not returning reviling for reviling and evil for evil, but it says, on the contrary, blessing. Now remember, you reap what you sow, not what you intend to sow. You only reap what you sow. So notice he says, contrary, if they do something evil, don't you go out and do the evil thing as well. You, on the contrary, bless them. You bless them, because what you want in your relationship is a blessed relationship. So knowing that you were called to this, when you're in a relationship, if you are not convinced that I was called to this, you won't have staying power to anything that you don't understand that I'm called to it. If you're called to a woman, if you're called to a man, you will stay because you feel called to it. And so you're called, so you want to bless your relationship. Anything that you're called to, you want to bless it. And so notice that you may inherit a blessing. You want to bless it so that you may inherit a blessing. And Gary Smalley and John Trent talk about the elements of the blessing. And it's talked about in terms of meaningful touch. It's impossible to bless folks without touching them. The human touch is so important that a baby, if they're born and if they never have human contact touch, the baby will die. Totally healthy baby, but if they don't have human contact, that child will die. It just begins to tell us something about the touch. Did you know that we have more feeling receptors in our hands than we do in any other part of the body? And so there's a reason that we are told to lay hands on folks if they're sick, and we have a power that's resident in our hands. There's a meaningful touch. Whether that's a hugging a person, embracing them, whether it's a pat on the back, whether it's holding hands, whether it's kissing, there has to be meaningful touch. You cannot bless people without touching them. Every time that they blessed them, they laid their hands on them. Jesus laid his hand on the children and blessed them. You almost can't bless people without touching them. You have to touch people in order to bless them. So there must be meaningful touch. Secondly, there must be spoken words. spoken words, encouragement, esteem building. There has to be affirmation. There has to be something of where you are actually speaking the blessing of spoken words. Thirdly, expressing high value. Expressing high value. I mean, just by saying to a person, you mean everything to me. A father can say, you know what, I am so blessed to be able to be your father. I mean, you're establishing high value on that person's life, establishing high value by simply affirming with your mouth, you know, I'm so glad that I'm able to spend time with you. You know, if a parent ever expresses to a child, you know, I was just fine before you interrupted my life. You know, you're really a burden to me. You know, you ought to be thankful to me that you burden my life ever since you've been in this world. That doesn't establish very high value, does it? But we establish a value where, you know, you are God's gift to me. Establish high value. And then number 4 is by expressing a special future, picturing a special future, picturing a special future for the person. A special future. You have to treat people as though they were what they ought to be, and then you'll help them to become what they are capable of being. It's what Johann Wolfgang van Gogh said. And so we want to be able to reach people right where they are, create a picture of a special future. That's what a certain man's mama told him. She just created a picture of a special future for him. She said, you know what? If you're ever a monk, she said, you're going to wind up the Pope. She said, if you get in the military, you'll wind up a general. But instead, he chose art. He was Pablo Picasso. But his mother painted a picture of a special future for him. That's why they said that the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. They have the ability to be able to help a person to believe in themselves beyond what they can even see for themselves. Somebody picturing a special future. And then 5 is an active commitment. Whether that's actually disciplining the person, helping the person, providing a way for them, opening doors for them. It's one thing to encourage a person and say, you know what, oh, you could be a great musician one day. But then when I'm talking about an active commitment means that if I have to go down and then get an old keyboard so you can practice. I can't just tell a person, hey, you're going to be a great musician one day. I have to have an active commitment and get them music lessons or get an instrument in the house so that they can practice that thing. That's an active commitment. That's how you bless people. So notice he mentioned that we were called, he says, blessing, so that you may inherit a blessing. When you bless other folks, you actually can reap the blessing back in your own life. You'll be surprised. And you must always be on the lookout for blessings. You don't know how many people are blessed and they don't recognize the blessing. That's one of the reasons that we have to pray with specificity. Because if you pray and ask God for a car, that's very general. And if God sent you an old beat up car and you didn't even recognize it, you'll still be complaining about the thing. There was an old woman in a nursing home, and young man went there to visit with his mother. And this old lady just kept on looking at the young man, just kept staring at him. And finally he asked her, do I know you? And she said to him, you look just like my 5th husband. He asked her, how many times have you been married? 4 times. You have to always keep an eye out for opportunities that could come your way. And just learn to bless and not curse. That was an aspiring yogi. He wanted to find a guru, and so he went to an ashram, and his preceptor told him, he says, you can stay here, but we have one important rule, and that is that all students observe a mauna, which is a vow of silence. He said, you will be allowed to speak in 12 years. And so after practicing for 12 years, the day came when the student could say one thing or ask his one question. And after 12 years, he said, "The bed is too hard." And so then he had to keep going another 12 years of austere discipline, meditation, and silence, and finally got the opportunity to speak again after another 12 years. And then he said, "The food is not good." And then he had 12 more years of hard work, and he got to speak again. And here are the words that he spoke after 36 years of practice. He said, "I quit." And the guru said to him quickly, he said, "Good. All you've been doing anyway is complaining." You'll be surprised how many people have severely impaired their relationship because they complain all the time. Now, if somebody asked me to describe a picture of a healthy marriage or a healthy relationship, here's what it would include for me. Number one, a healthy expectation of marriage or relationship. A healthy expectation of the relationship or healthy expectation of marriage. Remember, if you're expecting one thing and meet the other, that's what disappoints people. There's the ideal, there's the ordeal, and then there's the real deal. And if you have the ideal in your mind, but you meet the real deal, disappointment is established by the difference between the ideal and the real deal. And then when you have an ordeal, that really throws a monkey wrench in the program and confuses people. But there has to be a healthy expectation of marriage and relationship. Years ago, they would have things and they would show a couple getting married, and maybe you can finish this off, and they lived happily ever after. But you see, in reality, you don't just live happily ever after. There are some days that you're going to deal with some challenges. And so if you have a healthy expectation, you don't have to go to some old folks and say, "Now, baby, let me tell you something. Don't you lead over that little mess. That'll pass." You talk to some old people. You have to talk to some old folks that can get you grounded, so that because they have an understanding, and it helps us to have a healthy expectation of marriage or relationship. And so you define the roles, because you thought that it was going to be like this, and then it turns out to be like that. And then you have to have a realistic, number two, a realistic concept of love. A realistic concept of love. Remember the way that I define love. Love is an unconditional commitment to an imperfect person. Love is an unconditional commitment to an imperfect person. You ought to know the moment that you get into a relationship with somebody that they're not perfect. Now, you may think that they're perfect for you, but they have issues. There are some problems. There are going to be some challenges. So you have to have a realistic concept of love and understand that love is an unconditional commitment to an imperfect person. Number three, I think that a healthy relationship has a positive attitude and outlook toward life. They have a positive attitude and outlook toward life. Positive outlook, positive perspective. Number four is the ability to communicate feelings. Remember that dialogos, flow of meaning, the ability to communicate feelings. A lot of times the drama comes because things have built up that were pent up. And if you don't have a way of letting the steam off, you're going to have a dramatic episode. Let the steam off, and it'll keep you from having a volcanic eruption. Sometimes, let me tell you this, the words that are not heard hurt the most. The words that are not heard hurt the most. Paul Tillich, the great theologian, said that the first duty of love is to listen. And Dorothy Neville said this, that the real art of communication is not only to say the right thing in the right place, but to leave unsaid the wrong thing at the tempting moment. You'll be surprised at the people who have torn their own houses down with the negative words, complaining, griping, mealy-mouthing words of their own mouth. The most common cause of bad timing in relationship is selfish motives. Selfish motives. So you have to ask yourself two questions. Am I ready to get this off of my chest? Am I ready to confront? But also, is the other party ready to hear it? Is the other party ready to hear it? I know I'm ready to say it, but are they ready to hear it? And see, bad timing is because of selfish motives, because we're not considering whether the other person is ready to hear this thing or not. Then let me give you this, number 5. An understanding and acceptance of gender differences. An understanding and acceptance of gender differences. Remember, I've told you, men think one way, women think another. They're not all the same. They don't feel the same way about things. Some things they feel the same about, but there are other things, there are just gender differences. I took you through just a few of them in helping you to see how a woman will say one thing and she's really saying something else. Does anybody have to use the bathroom? That's her way of saying, listen, my bladder's about to burst. You need to pull over. I got to go to the bathroom. And you know, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. Number 6, what makes a good relationship is good decision-making ability. Good decision-making ability. You'd be surprised how drama is caused because somebody made stupid decisions. Good decision-making ability. Oh, here's a good one. Number 7, sexual fulfillment. Sexual fulfillment. I'm not going to dwell on that. I have a PG audience. Sexual fulfillment. Number 8, good conflict resolution skills. Where a person has good conflict resolution skills. They know how to resolve differences. Listen, if I have an issue, if I have a problem, I know how to be able to resolve this. And number 9, that they have mutual support or encouragement. Mutual support or encouragement. Mutual support or encouragement. Number 10, a common spiritual foundation. And then one more, number 11, is when you experience chemistry with each other. Chemistry. And now when I say chemistry, I don't mean that something just runs all over your body because, you know, your hormones have gone cuckoo. Here's what I mean by chemistry. With chemistry, it means that your desires are similar, compatible. Your desires are similar or compatible. It means when you have chemistry with a person, it means trust is evident. Trust is evident. When you have chemistry with a person, it means roles are clear. It means abilities are complementary. When you have chemistry with a person, chemistry, it means that your abilities are complementary. It means that your motives are pure. When you have chemistry with a person, your motives are pure. And when you have chemistry with a person, it means that there is mutual benefit, that this is not just a one-way street. There is mutual benefit. Then let me give you some things as I wind up here. To develop a relationship of love without the drama. Let me bring you some closure, some broad thoughts here. Number 1, find a role model or a mentor from somebody that you respect. Find a role model or a mentor from somebody that you respect. Titus chapter 2, verses 1 through 8, I mean, it talks about the older men teaching the younger men and older women teaching younger women. Now, it doesn't, when it says older, it really should be seasoned. Because how many of you know that there are some old fools? You don't want to just learn from some old people because some of them have done it the wrong way. So just being old is not qualifications enough. It needs to be seasoned. Seasoned individuals. There are some younger folks that could teach older folks because they've got better seasoning in doing the right way. So seasoned people ought to teach less seasoned people. The seasoned men ought to teach the less seasoned men. Seasoned women ought to teach the less seasoned women. There ought to be a mentoring process. If you really want to be able to do this thing, find somebody whose relationship you can respect and learn from them. Sit at their feet, talk to them, go out to dinner with them, go over to their house, serve them in some capacity, and learn from them. Learn from them. So find a role model or a mentor from somebody that you respect, and let the seasoned folks teach the less seasoned folks, folks that have stood the test of time. Number two, regulate your environment. Regulate your environment, who you are around, what you see, and what you listen to. And you have to protect yourself from damaging images. Protect yourself from damaging images. You don't want to be around a whole lot of ghetto stuff. I mean, there are ladies that don't want their men to be around other men that just cheat and dog folks out and do this and that and the other and live without respect, because you don't want those habits to rub off on your man. And there are some men that don't want their wives to be around this woman because she's ghetto and she has a problem with gossip, and then she's dealing with this, that, and the other. So you have to guard your environment, because when you get around smut will get on you. So you have to regulate your environment. If you're around other people with drama in their relationship, it'll just be a matter of time before you'll start having drama, and then you'll be coming and sharing with each other, comparing whose drama is greater. Oh, Gary, you think that's something? Let me tell you what he did to me this weekend. And it becomes a drama comparison. Find somebody who's living without the drama and talk with them, build with them, and find out what's creating the stability in their life. Number three, pay attention to the good times when you enjoy days free of drama, and notice what constitutes those days. Notice what constitutes those days. Now, these are just my own evaluations that I'm sharing with you. That you're not going to find this in anybody's book. Find the days that you have that are drama-free, and then see what constitutes those days. You know how you can be in a relationship with somebody and you just have some days are just absolutely wonderful, and then you start asking yourself, why can't every day be like this? Start analyzing, what was it that made this time that we spent together so special? And let's pull those elements, those qualities, and the things that surrounded it, all of those things. Let's study that, how we were able to go through this period of time without experiencing the drama, the frustration, the irritation, insulting each other, and putting each other down. What was going on in our lives during this time? So pay attention to those good times when you enjoy days that are free of drama, and notice what constitutes those days. Number four, emphasize the rewards of having a drama-free love relationship. Emphasize the rewards. Just think about, what are the rewards of having a drama-free relationship? Rewards motivate us. They move us toward doing the right thing. They move us toward doing the right thing. Number five, like yourself. If you really want a drama-free relationship, like yourself. Because you cannot export what is not homegrown. I guarantee you, if you're in relationship with somebody who does not like themselves, it becomes virtually impossible to live without drama. Half of that drama is because this person has an issue with themselves, and they're trying to get somebody else to make them happy when they've got to deal with their own personal happiness. You never give another human being, a two-legged human being, the key to your personal happiness. And so it's when a happy person who is fulfilled within themselves, and they've settled issues in their own heart, and when they've learned to like themselves. When you like yourself, you don't get so bent out of shape over who likes you and who doesn't. And so then you're able to share it, and you become a positive person that will draw them to where they actually want to spend more time with you. You get a person who doesn't like themselves, and then they'll radiate all of this negative energy off to the people that they're in relationship around with, and then they'll wonder, why doesn't he want to be around me? Why doesn't she want to be around me? And you don't want to be around you. So it's about learning to like yourself, and be okay with yourself. Like yourself. Number six, be a loyal confidant for your partner. Be a loyal confidant for your partner. Let me just say this. A dog is loved by old and young. He wags his tail and not his tongue. Be a loyal confidant for your partner. And number 7, you really want a relationship of love without the drama. Learn to apologize and to forgive whenever an offense has been done. It's the way of saying, I'm letting it go. I'm not going to continue to carry this thing to where it poisons our relationship. Apologize if you've done the offense. If the other person has done the offense, forgive them whenever an offense has been done. And you employ these tactics, you'll discover that your relationship will become better and better and better. And the more that you mature, the less episodes of drama that you'll actually have. One thing that maturity means that you make fewer and fewer mistakes because you've learned each other and you've already been down these roads and you know what works and what does not, and you know what brings offense and what brings blessings. And use your own mouth to build your own house and bless it. Bless it. You want to sow blessings so that you can reap blessings and that it will become a blessing to others. And I pray that you'll share the knowledge with others so we can have a drama-free world of people that love one another and are kind and considerate and courteous to one another. And they will let the blessings of God so fill their own heart, and they give out to others the very grace that God has afforded to them. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. And when God has had to do things for us, when we then do it for others and allow these things to flow through us, our world becomes a better place, a more blessed place, and you can enjoy love without the drama. I pray that you got something out of that.
Thank you for watching Power for Living with Bishop Dale C. Bronner. Until next time, God bless you.